Hey, nobody's out there, right? I'm gonna say weird personal stuff, as usual. Actually, today is not the normal self-indulgent. Well, I don't know. What am I trying to say? I'm just journaling. No one should watch this. This is personal, boring stuff. Um. Anyway, recent events. My dad has broken his ankle. He broke his ankle like 4 or 5 days ago, and I made this video talking about taking him to the hospital. Somebody on my YouTube wrote his dad broke his ankle, and all he can think about is how people have jobs or something like that. So like, I don't know, I wonder, like, do I struggle with like empathy or something like that? Basically, like, I do care about my dad. Like, if my dad died, I would feel like it was like the sun being blotted out. But I don't know. At this age, I do sort of have this weird feeling like there's just inevitable. What am I trying to say? Just, it's weird to be like 44, and after a certain age, at least in my life, it just kind of feels like there's just this kind of like, I know about the death. Like, I don't know how to explain it. I don't know if I'm callous, but I just have this feeling like everybody eventually dies, and so there's kind of like even if somebody told me like I'm gonna die, I'm just kind of like, I know about the death. So it's kind of like, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that, like, I don't think I'm like a callous, cold person, because I can remember like when I was in my 20s, when my mom had some like health scare. I can remember being like, we have to save my mom. And then there was this like 60-year-old friend of my mom who says, well, nobody gets out of this alive. And then I was thinking like, he's a terrible bastard. He doesn't even care. But now at 44, there is kind of like, I see things a little more from that 60-year-old's perspective. And it's just the sense like, it's just, I know about every day. It's like death, 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 death. And eventually I'm like, I know about the death. Like, it's like I'm kind of, what am I trying to say? I'm a little bit numb to just everything, more so than I was in my 20s. In my 20s, I was just like, we can save everybody and everybody can live forever. It's not that I'm callous, but it's just kind of like, I know about the death. What's the point? Anyway, also there's another feeling that I have at this age, is just like care. There's a weird perspective now that I have, which is like, care or not, it's the doing of the stuff that matters. That's kind of a weird perspective that I've gotten older now, is I just feel like I'd rather just be the guy who does the things that are needed for care than to be the guy who's like, I really care. Like, if I see, like, if I do a lot of emotional feeling and I don't do the stuff, I'd rather do the stuff and not care. Does that make sense? Like, I just feel like if you had to have some person helping out, I'd rather there just be a robot who could do all the things that would take care of the problem than some person who's like, I care, but I can't do anything to like help. And so that's kind of my thinking too, is like, who cares like how you feel? Like, just let's do the fucking shit that like fixes the problem. And so anyway, those are my thinking. So anyway, I just had a conversation with my dad. So basically my dad, I want to try to recap. I'm really ADD, and so I don't want to rant. Me and my dad, we have a tendency to ramble on, and I have a tendency to like space out. And so I got to really get my ass in gear, because my brain is I'm so ADD that like I'll forget all this shit. So I just want to make these videos to basically make sure I don't forget, and I don't want to ramble a lot. And so basically the upshot is, my dad, he owns these two houses. The houses together are in the San Francisco Bay Area. They're worth many millions of dollars. I don't have a job, and so I basically live dependent on my dad. And so, worst case scenario, there's like some moves here that could be like really bad. One of them would be like, if we had to sell these houses, that would be really bad, because like that's now, how can I say this? How can I say this without sounding like a vulture? I don't think I can say it without sounding like a vulture. Let's just say, like, even if we if we sold the houses, there's no way to say it without sounding terrible. That would just be disaster. I mean, I would lose millions of dollars. That's basically the situation. Now, that might happen no matter what. It's like, I might help out and do everything right, and we still could lose the house. Like, there could be some economic disaster. So I can't feel like I have to like, but really like losing the houses being sold because of my irresponsibility would be a really bad move. It seems like I talked with my dad this morning, because my dad basically is like, he can't walk around right now, and so basically I'm trying to I'm on the fly. I'm trying to develop some real basic communication skills. And this is kind of like, I talk about all this, like, I have to force myself to do conversation. I have an opportunity to do that right now with my dad. And so, but I'm so ADD that that's one really big problem. And so what I can do is I can try to remember, this is some little tools that I figured out that I can use. Is one of them is like, if I'm having a conversation with somebody, I should try to just remember one word from every sentence they said. I'm so ADD that, like, without Adderall, a lot of it is like, wah, 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 until I get better at that. But I used to take Adderall, and then I could sort of like, I'm like, they'd say all this stuff, and I'd be like, got it. I remember. I caught all of it. Now, without Adderall and without regular conversation, if I try hard, maybe I can remember like one word from like the whole thing they said, and so I'd be like, oh, clean the kitchen. He's gonna say like all this stuff. I'll be like, oh, clean the kitchen, got it. But I'm not gonna remember all the. So I have like ADD, so that's a problem. Also, there's basically, before I forget, I just want to remember there's 3 major crises that I should avoid. That's how I should make these videos just to recap the conversation. 3 major disasters that would be like really bad. Don't want to kill the dogs. We have these 4 dogs here. My dad does all this management of like the dogs. So we walk the dogs. He takes the dogs to the dog park. He feeds the dogs. I have to do that, or else I really love my dogs. I don't want the dogs to get killed because of my irresponsibility. So really have to avoid. Don't want to kill. I have to avoid killing the dogs, and then that's just like not really an option. Avoid selling the houses, and then avoid getting stuck at some dead end service job. Those are basically my I should avoid those at all costs. So really, like, my dad needs help. There's kind of this thing where like my dad's talking to me, and my dad and me, we don't really talk very much. Like, I just kind of have my head up my ass a lot, and I stay at this computer, and I just like my little I like to hide from the world and basically look at a camera or look at a screen and do some art stuff and kind of like hide. I should try to get up to speed with like dealing with the world. I might not be able to do that. Like, I might be. So basically, like, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like me and my dad, we had this. I can't remember the last time I've sat on a couch and looked at my dad and had like an actual like practical conversation with him. But I just had this conversation with him, and I feel like to some degree he's kind of assessing like, can Sean do this? Like, you know, can he have a conversation? Is he going to be like bossy? Is he going to like ignore me? And really, my dad, if I ignore him, and if I can't do the jobs that are needed for him, he needs to survive. So he's going to find like he's going to hire some person. That person might come in and like take over my room. So those are worst case scenarios. Worst case scenario, I guess, is I get kicked out and I have to go live in like a tent. I guess that's worst case scenario. So we should try to like avoid that. You know, another scenario would be I'd move to some other cheaper region and get some dead end job. That also seems like it would be disastrous. Life is kind of paradise here, so like I'd like to like avoid those situations. What else? Anyway, so those are the 3 main things that I'm trying to pull out of this conversation. Is I can't let the dogs get killed. I don't want to get stuck in a dead end service job. And then I don't want dad to sell the house. I can't prevent any of those. I mean, I should try my best to prevent those. What else? My dad. Oh, so this is something I notice in conversation is like I'm trying to do that. I'm practicing like these eye contact conversation things. I noticed there's like 3. I can remember like 3 things. I noticed there's like 3 things that I'm sort of like struggle with conversation. One of them is it is really hard for me to remember everything that somebody's saying. It's also hard for me to navigate like taking control. Like I can sort of, I don't know how to explain it. If I think to myself, just be myself, I can get real sort of like pushy and interrupting and like controlling. Like I can sort of, I don't know how to explain it. If I think just be yourself, I can be like, come on, let's like cut to the chase, and I can sort of, I can be sort of, I don't know, what am I trying to say? Basically, like in conversation, I don't want to be pushy or like predatory. I don't know. I have these weird, I'm going to shut up a second, but I guess those are like a few fears that I have in like having a conversation. I've had this weird fear, like this, I'm trying to figure out, this is just an aside. I got to walk my dogs in a second. What time is it? It's 9:28. I have some time. It's weird, like if I wish I could just live stream my whole fucking day. That would be pretty useful, is if I could just I developed the ability to like talk to a camera. But like I really lack, I would love to just be able to have a conversation, and I'd love to be able to just see what happened That would be such a great thing. It's like throughout my day, if I could just see, like, I'm so in my own head. It's weird. Like if I have a conversation with somebody, like with my dad, there's like, I worry that I'm doing some predatory thing. I don't know how to explain it. Like I feel like if I'm establishing rapport with my dad, there's some animalistic thing where like if my dad suddenly starts talking about oh, like, I don't know how I'm gonna survive or something like that. I worry that there's gonna be some like predatory thing, like some demon that comes out of my eyes that goes like, "You're not gonna survive. You're not gonna survive." And I'm like, shit. Like, am I doing some shit like that? And I don't know how to explain it, but like, there's the persona that I can sort of craft when I'm on this video. But then there's like I don't know how to explain it. There's like the two. I don't know how to explain it. It sounds ridiculous, but this is how I feel when I talk to people. Is I feel like really we're two animals. Is this ridiculous? I feel like we're two animals, and I feel like the animal stuff is like stuff I'm not very sensitive to, and I worry that at some animalistic level, my dad might perceive me as some sort of like stupid animal that can't process what the fuck he's saying and juggle all these things that need to be done. And so I feel like at some animalistic level, my dad's kind of assessing like, can this fool like handle these things? And I'm trying to be like, at some animalistic level, I'm really reluctant to engage with people. Basically, that's my main problem is like, I'm very like finicky, and I don't want to like grab the bull by the horns and just think, okay, we got to do it. I want to be like, oh, let's be all dainty, and like, I don't want to engage. I want to put my head in my computer world. I have to like try to avoid that. I have to be like, let's engage and let's like deal with the thing. And so if I do that, it's weird. Like if I engage with somebody in like naked one-on-one eye contact thing, I worry that I'm going to do some predatory thing. I worry that I'm going to space out and not be able to understand what the person is saying for long periods of time. And then I worry about, this is weird, I worry about some weird like gay vibe. I don't know how to explain it. Like this is what I wish I could video myself, because I feel like there's this weird thing like where if I sustain eye contact for a long period of time, I feel like I'm going to do some sort of like semi-gay. It's not gay, but it's like some sort of like, oh, like, oh. I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like if I sustain eye contact with somebody for a long period of time, there might be some sort of like, I don't know how to explain it, like a googly-eyed sort of like, oh, like some sort of weird like tickling feeling where it's like, oh. I don't know. Does that make sense? I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I'll be having a conversation with my dad, and suddenly I feel like, am I doing some sort of like I'm trying to be pretty, and he's doing some sort of like, and so like, whatever that is, I'd like to get over that. I feel like, I don't know how to explain it, but I feel like I'll do eye contact with somebody for a long time, and then suddenly like I'll feel like I'm doing some sort of like holding my head at like a pretty angle, because that's what I used to do in my 20s. In my 20s, my whole game from puberty onward was if I was dealing with a human, I was always just trying to concentrate on how to hold my head at a pretty angle and try to look pretty. That was what I was thinking if I was dealing with a human. And now that's totally outdated, because I'm not even like young and cute anymore. And so I have to like ditch that shit. But still, I'll do something where I'll be talking with somebody and suddenly I'll feel like I'm doing some sucking in my cheek, like trying to look cool. And then I'll feel like if I sustain eye contact for a long time, there's like some intimacy thing where like I'll feel like somebody's going like, oh, like we're getting all like mushy or something, and then I'll be like, I'll suddenly say like, let's handle business, like come on, I'm gonna fireman carry you and we're gonna figure this shit out. And I kick it into this like, I'm not gay, I'm doing some man like serious stuff, and then like everything gets all weird. And basically I wish I could figure out like how to deal with that. I wish I could just basically be like, I've never jerked off to a man, and as long as we don't start like, fondling each other, there's no like, I don't know how to explain it. Why am I scared of that? I read this thing every morning where I'm like, gay is as gay does. Like I've never done any gay stuff, but there is some weird thing where like I'll look at somebody and suddenly I'll feel some sort of like, some intimacy thing, and then suddenly I'll worry that like there's some sort of gay vibe, like like we're do some tickling thing. I don't know how to explain that, but I have to get over that. I have to just be like, well, whatever. I would like to figure out how to like deal with that and overcome that. And I just have this thing in my head where I say, don't be weird, don't be weird, don't be weird, don't be weird. But I'll feel like I'll do some sort of like, and then I'll feel like I worry that I'm gonna do some predatory thing where suddenly I'm like, ha 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 ha. Like that's a thing that I'm noticing, that like if I talk with people, there's some like, if I'm talking with people for a long period of time, I'm afraid of basically spacing out and not being able to understand what they're saying and feeling like I can't. It's like they're almost talking like French after a while, and I'm like, I can't. My brain can't keep up with what the person's saying, and I worry that it's like I'm looking at them, but they're like they probably know that I can't follow what they're saying because I'm too ADD. So, and also I'm so neurotic. I'm always thinking about all this shit. So really, I should try to just remember one word from everything that they said, and then I should recap. That seems to be something good. It's like once I recap. Once they say something, I should recap over like what are the main points. I do really well with like to dos, and so I told my dad like if he can just write me some main to dos, like like if I have like a little list like Jocko has prioritize and execute. The main things are like I have to walk the dogs, I have to feed the dogs, I have to make sure the dogs have water, I have to go shopping. I might have to wipe my dad's butt. That's the thing that I'm sort of like thinking like how am I going to do that? Like I have to come up with a procedure for that where I don't feel like I'm going to throw up or something like that. Like if I have to wipe my dad's butt, that's going to be like I'll do it. I can figure it out. Like I pick up my dog's poop every day, and so I have no problem with that. I guess if I just get gloves and I just don't breathe through my nose too much where I feel like I'm going to throw up, I can figure out how to do that. And we can figure out a procedure for that. But I really have to avoid my dad like selling the house or kicking me out and becoming homeless or having to get some dead-end service job. Also, the other thing is like my mom and my brother are living in this other place. And my mom is really like, she's kind of controlling. Like she's going to want to dominate. She's going to want to come in and be like, my mom is kind of like, she says like, oh, I love you and shit. But really, if she was the boss, she's very bossy. And she kind of whispers to my dad like, just put Sean in a group home. Like she doesn't really give a shit about me. My dad kind of gives a shit about me. But even my dad, like, you know, if push comes to shove, he's gonna be like, sorry, Sean, you gotta get out of here. I gotta survive. And so really like I have to avoid this situation where we got these like these jackals. There's these jackals on the other side of the bay in the rich part of town who are my mom, my brother, and my niece. And the real dynamics underneath that are that my mom, she's kind of likes me, but really if she could have her way, she'd take over the whole house and she'd put me in a group home. She'll get drunk sometimes when push comes to shove. She'll say something like, if I was in charge here, I'd just put you in a mental institution, Sean. And I'm kind of like, I know that's how I know if she can, she'll come in and boss everybody around and take over, and like she'll just have me put in a group home or some shit like that. And then so I gotta like prevent her from muscling in and like and just she's gonna try to boss my dad around and shit like that. But my dad can sort of like keep her at bay. And then my brother is basically like, he's kind of nice, but he's kind of basically, he's somewhat sort of like, he can help out. He's learned some skills from like work. And so my dad's going to look to my brother for like maybe my brother can help out with some practical stuff. My dad sort of wonders like, am I too crazy and too immature and too reluctant to engage with life and people that I'm just going to not be able to help him? Like my dad is almost sort of like when I'm talking on the couch with my dad, he's sort of interviewing me. It's like I'm interviewing for like a caregiver position, and he's looking at me being like, can this guy do this? Like, is he going to be empathetic? Is he going to be able to like help me with this life stuff? And so I should really like find a system to like help with dad, or I should just accept the worst case scenario, which is that I just get kicked out of here and have to go live in a tent or some apartment in Alabama or something like that. That's the worst case, but I don't want that because I don't want the dogs to get killed. That's my main concern too, and I also don't want the house to get sold. So I should try to avoid those. What else? And then I feel like my brother is mostly like, he's like kind of controlled by my niece, and my niece can be really nasty too. My niece is like, I think basically my brother and my niece are a little too immature to. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I feel like they don't really care either, and so I have to watch out about them coming in and like just fucking things up. What's the point? I should use this video as a way to like be concerned about my dad. Somebody wrote something on my video where they said like, oh, he's not even worried about his dad. I should use this video to like, again, like just do the things that I should put myself in my dad's shoes and then think like, what does my dad need? So let's do that. What does my dad need? He needs to be able to move around. He needs to handle the errands that are in the house. He needs to be able to clean. He's worried that like he needs to be able to he doesn't know if He doesn't know if he can fix his leg. He has to wait a week till they check the bones to see if they can fix the leg. But he's mainly worried about like how can he handle the different things around the house. So what are the main things that need to be done around the house? Walking the dogs. So I'm gonna go run the dogs every morning, and then I'll take them to the dog park later. He needs we need to feed the dogs. I'll do that. And so and then we need shopping. We need to go to like Costco and Trader Joe's. I'm gonna have to do that. And when I do that, I have to avoid some temptation to make it into some sort of shopping spree. He's gonna worry about that. Like, if he gives me his ATM card, he doesn't want me to like just be like, "Hey, shopping spree," and so I can't do that. If I go there, I just have to buy the things on the list. I can't get some like frill stuff. This feels all very sort of like sleazy and low life, but whatever. I just have to. I like this transparency thing. I wish I could just live stream my whole day, even dealing with my dad, so that I could like do it right. But I think just the main things from this video, the things that I want to remember is that I can remember like 3 things every time I do something. I can remember like 3 good things, 3 bad things, but it's so hard I'm so ADD. 3 disasters to avoid. Selling the houses would be the terrible. That might happen no matter what. Like there might be some economic crisis because of Trump, or like who knows what. There could in artificial intelligence, I don't know. No matter what I do, I should just assume that like the houses might get sold. I may never get any inheritance money at all. So I have to be prepared for that. I have to just basically say I might help out my dad, and then I might get nothing in return. So I think that's possible. But I should try to avoid the houses being sold. What else? We should try to avoid the dogs being killed, and we should try to avoid getting stuck at some dead-end service job. And then I think if I'm doing conversation things, I think if I do eye contact, what I should do is I should do eye contact, because otherwise I'll do no eye contact. I'll just sort of like space out. And then if I do eye contact, I should just kind of like try to have fun, try to be myself, look away when it's like getting weird, and then basically try to like, I don't know, not do some predatory thing. I don't know how to explain it. Try to not do predatory thing. Try to remember one word from each sentence that was last said, and then try to recap regularly and say like, okay, so basically what you're saying is we gotta take out the dogs, or basically what we're saying is, I can do that. I have to like say every once in a while, okay, what do we do? And then like, if I'm having a conversation, I should try to navigate the conversation. Like I should try to interject and not interrupt, but basically like say, okay, like let's steer this a little bit. Like where are we going? What do we gotta do? But also like not be too bossy. And so anyway, I'll figure this out. Again, I'm just basically thinking like I should try to avoid those worst case scenarios. And then if I have I should make sure I do the stuff my dad says. Like I'll just write these down. Let's write these down. We'll call this navigating, but where's things to avoid? Selling houses. Killing dogs. Can't do that. Getting stuck at dead end. So those are the worst case scenarios as I see it. Things to do to avoid those. list of things, list of errands I should do and what time. Bullet point. It would be good if you could just five words each. Dad has a pager or bell to ask for on the fly type stuff. I should just basically walk dogs twice a day. I could say run dogs. Walk dogs twice a day. Walk dogs twice a day. See, I'm already spacing out. Walk dogs twice a day. Shop. Clean. Replace water. Replace water. What else? Anyway, I'll figure these things out. But conversation solutions. Just be yourself. Don't be predatory. Do eye contact. Break. It's too weird. Remember you're not gay. What else? Come on, wake up. Eye contact, break, it's too weird. Recap. So, recap every so often, main points. And then, I'm so brain dead. I feel like I'm gonna flounder at all of this. I'm such a zombie. It's really not good. Snap out of it, Sean. I should recap what people say, and I should take charge, navigate every once in a while, but don't get bossy, controlling. Uncaring. I don't know how to explain it, but sometimes I feel like I can kick it into this like Nazi mode where I'm just like, all right, hey, cut the, like, we got to do this and we got to do this and we got to do this, and here we're gonna do this and I'm gonna do this. You got to sort of like let the other person direct things too, and I so have to like figure that out. Is like I can be like really passive and just kind of go like and I can be too passive. But then if I can do this thing where suddenly I'll just be like, all right, I'm gonna do this and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do this, and then that's not good either. And so I have to figure that out. Anyway, that's the gist of it. I'm gonna go run the dogs. Is there anything? I'm probably forgetting some stuff, but oh well. I'm just gonna forget about my normal schedule stuff until I figure out how to do this. But this could be good. I can learn to practice eye contact with my dad and learn how to do conversations with my dad.